Hi everyone, my name is Ginger Yifan Chen, and I'm the Guest Services Coordinator at CAAMFest. I'm so happy to be here with the filmmakers of One Voice into Hasso Manaina. We would like to acknowledge our wonderful co-presenters, the Hawaii Art Alliance, and CAAMFest is made possible by our community of supporters around the world. If you want to help bring Asian American stories to light, please donate or join as a CAAM member at caamedia.org. For a limited time, new members can save 15% on our friend or supporter memberships using the promo code Celebrate Stories. That's lowercase one word. So today we have two films with island origins from Guam and Hawaii. I would love to introduce the director of Hasso Manaina, Neil Tinkham.
Hi.
Hi. So Hasso Manaina charts the journey of a Chamorro Cultural Foundation as they create a new chant while remaining in isolation during the COVID-19 pandemic. You have a pretty unique aesthetic when it comes to portraying digital and online spaces. So could you tell us a little more about your decisions there? Did you use, computer screens and just screen record? Did you film the laptops or use any filters?
Yeah, so because this was what the actual format of the chant creation was going to be, I thought it would just be a real nice way to kind of also present the movie. And, I was thinking of films in the past, like Searching and things like that, where they told an entire story, virtually, right? Like on a computer screen. And so I thought, we could accomplish it that way and then make it engaging. And so, yeah, I'd never done anything like that before. And so I had to kind of figure it out. And I ended up just pointing a camera at my laptop and making sure that the resolution was high enough so that way I could zoom in when, we see, like the cursor moving, and when we need to punch in on individual people's like Zoom screens.
Yeah.
And so that was largely how it was done. We also had the actual recording, but we didn't use that too much. So it was mostly just from the camera pointing at the laptop.
Did the participants contribute to the production process?
No, not really. It was pretty simple. It was just me, on my end, and that was really it, and that was kind of, also what I wanted. So that way they would just completely forget that I was even there, which was, most of the time, because I would turn off my camera. They wouldn't just see anything. And then, at the end, I would, pop back on, say hi, and thanks for, participating. And that was really it. Yeah.
Great. You're both the director and the editor. So what was that process like? You have a really unique editing style in this film.
So as I was trying to figure out like what the story would be, like how we would tell it, I wasn't sure if, I wanted to start from the beginning and then, just go all the way to the end. And so I tried to figure out, okay, well, at what point in this process can we like pop in on? And then, well, once we get a taste of that, then maybe we can backtrack a little bit to kind of, get some background and some backstory. And then we can kind of, just catch up to where we began at, and then just carry that all the way to the end where they, perform the song, and it's being recorded for like the first time while everyone still is in social isolation. Yeah. So I was just, and then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
You started with footage of live events, which were filmed before all of this happened. And then I noticed that in the end, you intercut, the live events and with the recording of the song. So what are your thoughts about, the interaction of that, of being in person, of being online, of celebrating culture? What are your thoughts about how you wanted to, or do you want to go back to where it was? What do you see as the future of that?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would love to do, because I still feel like it's not finished, is to actually go back to, I didn't film the in-person stuff. They gave that to me, but to go there this year to PIFA, when they would be performing it for the first time together, right? And kind of, put that at the very end, because I feel like that would be a nice kind of like bookend for it. But, kind of like what you were just touching on, right? It's to kind of at the very beginning show what life used to be like, when we performed, especially when we performed songs and dances. It's something that we come together to do, right? We experience that collectively. But then we see that she's watching it on a laptop, right? So we now know, okay, well, this is the reality of, how things are at the moment. And so then at the very end, to kind of show the two of them kind of coexisting, when we cut to the footage of them performing together while they're singing the chant in social isolation, just to kind of, I guess, show that, we can still manage and we can still kind of, survive and, get through this together as best as we can.
Thank you so much, Neil. Where can people follow you in your project?
So I'm just going to, give the Instagram account for the Couture and Chamorro Foundation. So this is the foundation that was a part of the documentary. That's who it was about. And so you can find out more about them, about what they do, and then any more information about the film itself through their Instagram account. Thank
you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival, Neil.
Okay, great. I will. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Neil. Bye. Okay. Next up, we have the director and several subjects of One Voice, which is a feature documentary that follows several high school song directors. Now they've all grown up, competing in the annual Kamehameha Schools Song Contest. So they celebrate their culture and direct their peers in singing Hawaiian music. So our director, Lisette Flanary, subjects Zach Lum, Ka'ai McAfee Torko, and Max Mukai. So,
aloha, everyone.
Hi.
Aloha. Aloha.
I wanted to start with the title of the film, One Voice. We have several subjects, several voices. A lot of you competed against each other. Please tell me about the decision to, this was in different choirs, different schools. So none of you sang together, but in the end, the film was called One Voice.
Actually, they did sing together. There's a co-ed. Zach definitely led his class in the co-ed competition. I think that, what's interesting about the Kamehameha Schools Song Contest is the entire high school participates, not just one choir or a few people here or there. It's everybody. So I really felt like, even though there's different classes and there's the men's group and the women's group, it's everyone. It really is a singular, unified gathering.
Yeah. Lisette, so you were really intertwined with many, many families. You're part of the community. So what has the impact of this film had on the school?
Well, I mean, first of all of the families were so welcoming and so amazing. And, when we first started this project, what was kind of interesting about it was that, the class elects the song leaders. So the 10 song leaders that we followed for a year leading up to Song Contest that year were selected by their classmates. And so I had, I just kind of got the subjects from the votes, right, that you guys got. And I knew the minute that I met everyone that it was going to be an amazing story. So, any fear or any worry I had before I knew who was going to be elected Song Contest leaders dissipated immediately the minute I met all of the amazing, talented young people who were leading their classes in Song Contest. And when I got to have the privilege to go home with them and meet their families and spend time with them, it just was incredible. And I think that, I don't know if the film had, an impact. I think that what was great about the doc was that it showed the rest of the world who, may not be able to experience Song Contest here in Hawaii, what it's really like. You got to peek behind the curtain, and it's a very beloved tradition here in Hawaii, but not, maybe folks in other parts of the world have never heard of it. So I think that is sort of what was maybe impactful about a documentary like this.
Okay, great. So this question is for the subjects, Zach, Kai, and Max. So you've clearly gone through a lot of personal journeys while competing in the contest, and also, participating in the documentary. So now we're a few years ahead. How have things changed? Have you fulfilled the dreams that your younger selves had in the film? And let's go with Kai first.
I love that you asked this question because it's been over 10 years now. A lot has happened. But yeah, I did learn a lot. Song contest taught us a lot of life lessons that I still continue to use to this day. I'm a teacher, and so I think teaching your peers can be really difficult. So it's easy for me now to teach middle schoolers or kindergarteners. It's really fun. But yeah, I think just us being here, like Max, Lisette, and Zach, we're all here because we still have, like, even though we don't see each other all the time, we still have this really, like, that bond back then is like forever. So like that's the reason why we're here, is because of that bond. So I'm just so thankful that we get to be here together today.
Oh, that's so touching. Zach, I'd love to hear from you next.
Yeah, I think about to your last question too about, what has the impact been of this film, maybe in an international community, but I also think that there's definitely an impact at Kamehameha. So I think after I graduated, I kept on working at Kamehameha in Song Contest, and I eventually became the choral director, and I was there for 5 years. And the thing that was so funny and honestly embarrassing at points was the fact that every year before Song Contest, guess what teachers are having their students watch? It's their, yeah, and like I have these students in my class, and they're like, "Oh, I saw baby Zach." I'm like, why do you guys don't watch that? But at the same time, it's the fact that this process, and like Lisette said, this behind the scenes, peek behind the curtain kind of process was captured on film, not just for the major logistics of having over almost 2,000 students sing a cappella Hawaiian language music as a requirement, as a graduate requirement, but the fact that you get to peek behind the personal stories, trials, and I guess triumphs too, when it comes to whether it's these 10 students, student directors, or even just what it means to be a Kamehameha student. What is it, 13 years ago now? It's definitely had a major impact, and for me, it's definitely it's something that we continue to carry. I'm not even at KS anymore. I resigned to go to pursue a degree, PhD, and yet so many of the beautiful lessons that came from that time, that period, that song contest in general, it's gonna stay with me forever.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Zach also forgot to mention that he has an amazing band, Keauhou, and is doing amazing things musically. Do you want to talk a little bit about Keauhou?
Yeah.
Yeah, we play music.
No, plug it. Come on.
Yeah, well, see, I'm still not the good promo plugger kind of person, but yeah, we had
I know
a band.
you're being humble.
Yeah, I'm trying. But actually, we're excited to actually be premiering a virtual concert on May 1st for May Day, and that should be on Facebook for a little while as well. So I hope people can catch that.
Yeah.
And he also has him and his wife also started their own. They have a great organization called Kamehameha. So I wanted to add that too, in case you forget to say that.
Oh, you guys are bragging for me. Thank you so much.
And Max is an incredible entrepreneur too. So
oh yes, I can. Let's get to Max. I want to brag about him.
Yeah, Max come back. No, he'll be. I think
he says he's backstage.
He's backstage. No, Crystal. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Max. Yes, we'd love to hear about your business. I would love to hear about. The same question, like what has changed? You had big dreams in the film.
Has big dreams.
Yeah.
Has big dreams.
Director Lisette should have told me, maybe you should tone it down a bit. And
I love
then,
it when you said you wanted to buy all the hotels back in Waikiki. That's one of my favorite, you know, lines from you.
And he's on the path to doing it.
No, I mean, it's just going to take a long time.
Oh, the Forest and Raised. I remember in the film you wanted to be a Hawaiian Donald Trump. So now presidents tacked onto the end of that, huh?
Did that really happen?
That was Brolin. That was Brolin.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Wait, but they both said that they wanted to back it.
That also felt so different watching that later. You know, years later, I was just like,
hashtag context.
A lot of big dreams in that film. A lot of ambition. I loved it.
Let's get Brolin on to answer to that one. But yeah.
But Max, tell us what you're doing.
Well, I want to brag a little bit because Zach and his beautiful wife have such a beautiful child too that they just had. So that was the third thing we needed to brag about.
Yeah.
I have landed at the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, and I help run the ʻohana business program, and that is our kuleana is to uplift the lahui through entrepreneurs and helping our oiwi business leaders and small businesses to uplift them and to get them on a path towards, self-sufficiency and thriving. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Congratulations.
Mahalo, thank you.
Yeah. This is a question for everyone. We talked about in the film of, like you said, like you wanted to spread Hawaiian culture through this film. And one quote is like, you had to express it as living culture, not as a museum culture. So now you've all participated in what can be called like an archival of culture and history. What are your thoughts about that? You know, being part of history or creating history. This is quite a feat, this film.
Well, I mean, I think that, for me personally, I feel as a documentary filmmaker that just being given the opportunity to just capture or to be present, like I feel like I can like think about Song Contest night all these years later and still really feel that energy that was in the room and how emotional it was. And, I was like crying at the end for everyone. And that's, as a filmmaker, you're outside and kind of trying to be objective, but it also felt very subjective too, because I just was so moved by that whole experience. And I think that when I watch the film, even years later, I still get excited. I still feel like, even though I know what happens, I've seen it a million times, right? I am very, very proud that I got to play a tiny part, in helping to share everyone's stories. And I think that with every film, I mean, I just finished a trilogy of documentaries on hula and Hawaiian culture. And I think with each story, I think that you're sort of capturing a moment in time, but it speaks to a larger picture, right? And all of these stories are important, and all of them, need to be heard and to be seen. What you guys think? You guys go next. I brought you guys here so that I wouldn't have to talk so much.
What you think, Kai?
Why do I always have to go first?
Ladies first. Ladies first.
Okay. Yeah, perpetuating Hawaiian culture, I think, well, that's the reason why I am a kindergarten and first grade teacher. I teach Ike Hawaii and Olelo Hawaii, so it's like my dream job. Bye. And from when I first started teaching, I'm a product of going to Hawaiian immersion. So I learned only in Hawaiian from preschool to about third grade. And when I got older, like obviously there's a really clear path for English speakers, and there's a path for like Hawaiian immersion learners. But I think there's this nice little in between where we have a lot of children who aren't Hawaiian, because a lot of our Kamehameha, most of the students are Hawaiian, or all of the students are Hawaiian. So I think I'm noticing that there's this path in the middle where we have a lot of children who live in Hawaii. Their parents grew up in Hawaii, but they're not Hawaiian. And so I think it's my own personal goal to kind of build their pride in Hawaii, to be proud that they grew up here, to claim Hawaii as their home, and to take on responsibility. And so that's actually my purpose. Like, I love my job, and that's why I do it. We have so many children here in Hawaii who aren't Hawaiian and love this place, and that's really what we want to. I want to help them celebrate and really know, you can have a love for Hawaii because your ʻohana has been here for generations. So that's kind of my new path. I think every child, even I work with a lot of children who are international students, and they come from military families. Maybe they're going to leave in a short period of time, but having that importance that you should learn wherever you are, you should honor that place and their people, I think is such a valuable lesson that, everyone in the whole world can perpetuate and celebrate. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. And it's really exciting because I think all of us really, what you saw in the film is really just a snapshot of what we're trying to do. So watch out for us. Look out, we're coming.
I would totally echo everything that Kai said, and I would add to that. When it comes to whether it's like you compare Hawaiian culture as a or you juxtapose the Hawaiian culture as a museum culture, a living culture, and then you think about, well, what are the practices that constitute that culture, or that Hawaiianness, and we think about the stereotypical ones, and not to be demeaning in any way, but we all, if we think about Hawaiian culture practice, we think about mahi ai kalo, and we think about hula, and sometimes we think about mele too. But I think what's important here is the fact that, and I think I really, this is a long-term lesson that I'm continuing to learn from Lisette, is this idea that filmmaking is a cultural practice. This capturing of time, of experience, so that it can be re-experienced in the context of Hawaiian culture. I feel like that's right there ingrained with everything else. The same thing with song contests. You can have all these conversations about how the choral singing doesn't come from Hawaiian traditional practices, but here we are 100 years later, utilizing that tool as a method for emboldening and strengthening the young Lahui, the young Hawaiians, who will continue to create a path forward for all of us. So I would just echo that, everything that Kai said, and add that a little bit.
My dear classmates and friends have really said it all. But I more so want to just talk about what an honor it was to be a part of being able to share that story. And we're so lucky, for us, our little voice in all of it, we get the privilege of doing that. And so thank you, Lisette. It's just, what a time, to be involved in such a wonderful project. And you said something about impact, and Lisette definitely didn't play it up as much as she should have, and I wanted to do that now. I think that film is played every single year, at least once, by almost probably every teacher in Hawaii, like, I can't tell you, I have teachers come up to us and they'll tell us I play your film every year, or every audience of students I have. And so it's such a curriculum tool. It's a part of our people's curriculum now. So thank you, Lisette.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was such a wonderful conversation. Lisette, please tell us if anyone wants to keep following your project. where would they go? How can they get more information?
They can go to lehuafilms.com and find information on One Voice, as well as the Hula trilogy, which will be airing on the Pacific Heartbeat series this summer. Tokyo Hula is the film that I recently just finished, and I want to thank Zach for doing the opening theme music for Tokyo Hula.
Good fun. Thank you.
Yeah, please check them out.
Okay, thank you again. Please enjoy the rest of the festival. Please take care. Thank you for participating in this Q&A.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.